Hello and all, welcome to the Galaxy Man Show. I am here with my next last guest of this week, known by the name of Jenn Bostic. So I'm proud to announce Jenn for the last guest of this week. So everyone, please welcome Jenn on the show. And yeah, here's Jenn.
Oh,
Hello, Jenn. How's it going?
I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thanks. I just want to say first up, thank you so much for taking the time to join my show. It is such an incredible pleasure having you on the show for today. To people that don't know who you are, Jenn, if you can give like a bit of backstory about yourself, and then we'll dive right into the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a singer-songwriter based in Nashville, Tennessee, originally from Minnesota. I have five different records in five different genres, pretty much. So I've done country music, I've done singer-songwriter, pop, Americana blues, and now I have a Christian record out. So it's all across the board, but I love to write and perform my own music and tour around the world, and that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So we'll dive right into the questions now, Jenn. So for my very first question, so you've created amazing original songs, and for the first original song I'm going to mention is Change. Like, what was it like creating Change, and what's the meaning behind this song?
Well, thank you. So Change was written for my sophomore album, and I had just recorded and released this pop country album that I had just moved to Nashville. I was so green. I wanted to be the next Carrie Underwood, and I thought all my dreams were going to immediately come true, right? And so we shopped that album to some various record labels who kind of said it was too pop for country, too country for pop. I think there was a little bit of a lack of authenticity maybe in that first record, trying to write for what a label or radio might want to hear. And I think Change was the first song I wrote for that second album. And it allowed me the opportunity to just pause and remember why I started writing songs in the first place. And it wasn't for the radio, it wasn't for record label executives. It was honestly an outlet, therapy for me. And so I just remembered that and wanting to really, in that second album, create music that was as authentic as possible and real to me as possible. Change just kind of became the almost the sassy song that was a rebuttal to those negative label meetings, but also just a reminder to myself that be true to who you are. And I think that that's the main message in the song is we're all very uniquely designed, and so we all bring something special and different to the world. And so I think it's important to tap into that rather than trying to be a copy of someone else.
So on to my very next question. So you've also created a song called Anywhere But Here. What was it like creating this one, and what's the meaning behind Anywhere But Here?
That is an older one. Wow, it's fun to think back to that. I wrote it with a dear friend of mine, Barrett Eretzian. He also produced the track. And I think in life, especially the music business, but that's just what I know. There can be moments when you're at a party or in a room and you can just see in someone's eyes that they're almost looking past you. Like you just know that whatever you're saying is getting lost. And sometimes that happens, at the dinner table at home too sometimes. But I think I was so tired of seeing it time and time again at like whether it was a music industry event or something like that. It was kind of as an indie artist, it was my second album, so I'm just trying to find my way. And I just felt like people were constantly looking past me or looking to see who is better to talk to. And so I think it's unfortunate that that happens all the time in every industry, right? So I think just trying to be present in every moment. It's a reminder for me as well to just be present, and whoever's right in front of you having that conversation, be there with that person and hear them out because we all deserve to be heard.
On to my very next question. So you've also created a song called Jealous of Angels. What was it like creating this one, and what's the meaning behind Jealous of Angels?
Jealous of the Angels is a song written for my late father who passed away in a car accident when I was 10 years old. He was really the first person to inspire me to play music. He was the first person to call this musical gifting out in me. And after losing him, songwriting and music just became my therapy, my outlet to get out all those feelings that I had. I wrote that song with two dear friends of mine, Zach Rehnquist and Jimmy Fortune, years after the accident. And the day we wrote it, it felt as if this weight I'd been carrying around that I didn't even realize I'd been carrying around just lifted from my shoulders. And we had the intention to write a song about this situation. Zach had this great idea of Around the Throne, and so we were gonna just see if I could get some of those feelings out, not necessarily to market the song. It was just something I needed to write to heal. Never, when we finished it, did I ever think I would perform the song live. It was just something I needed to write in my own heart. And then I was at the Blueberry Cafe in Nashville, and everything in my heart said, play that song about your dad. And so I did, and a woman came up to me after the show, and she said that her dad had passed away 2 days before that night, and that song, she knew that I played it for her. And there was just something that happened in my heart that night that I knew if the worst experience I had ever walked through could somehow bring a song into the world that would bring someone else comfort and healing, then I had a responsibility to share it. So I recorded it with Barry Eretzian, who produced it, and then I did a simple music video for the song, put it up on YouTube, and 6 months later, I found out on Twitter that the song was being played on the radio in England. And 3 weeks after that, I'm flying on an airplane to perform the song on BBC Breakfast Television. It went #1 on the Songwriter charts. I got to sing it at the Grand Ole Opry, the Ryman Auditorium. It's been just all these bucket list dreams coming true. But the most incredible part of it has just been hearing the stories from others. And I've learned that through being vulnerable and sharing what happened with my dad very honestly, somehow it gives other people the permission to share their own stories of loss. And so it's honestly, that's one of those songs that it just feels so much bigger than me. It feels like God just dropped that in our lap that day. And I'm so incredibly grateful that I get to share it. And it's been really beautiful to see other incredibly talented artists go on to sing it and have even more success than I had with it as an artist. So I'm very, very grateful that I get to be a tiny part of that one.
On to my very next question. So you've also created a song called Not Yet. What was it like creating Not Yet? And what's the meaning behind Not Yet?
Not Yet was written as an anthem to myself. I was having an artist day where I said, I've so many times I wanted to throw in the towel, but I know that I know this is what I'm meant to do with my life. And I love it. I love writing songs and I love singing them. And so I sat down with my producer at the time, Barry Eretzian, and we wrote this song that was just something I could sing over and over and over again to remind myself that no, I'm not giving up. I have this dream, this fire in my heart, and I'm gonna keep chasing it. And it's been a really encouraging one throughout the years. It's on my second album, but I still love to sing that one, and it still means a lot to me. And it was used in an episode of The X Factor, I believe, as well, which was kind of neat. So yeah.
So on to my very next question. So what made you decide as a person and especially as an artist to get into singing in the first place?
So I mentioned a little bit earlier that my dad really influenced music in my life. I feel like it's always been around me. Both of my parents were always bringing my brother and I to musicals or concerts, anything that was in the arts. And as I said earlier, it was kind of an outlet when I lost him. And so that I feel like the more I felt connected to him through music, even though he was already gone, the more I wanted to experience that again. So I was constantly drawn back to the piano or to a microphone, and singing was just the only thing that made me feel better, honestly. And I loved it. It was so much fun. I was performing in choirs and show choirs and band, jazz band, all these fun things in high school. Went off to Berklee College of Music to study music education, actually. I thought that if I could help others find that outlet in music, that would be just a joy to share. And while I do get to do that in some capacity for songwriting workshops and things like that when I'm on the road upon graduation, I just felt like everything in my heart said go to Nashville and try to pursue this dream of being a recording artist and see what happens. And so that's what I'm doing 15 years later.
So on to my very next question. So what does performing music mean to you? Especially as an artist, when you're performing in front of crowds, what does it mean to you?
Music is a really powerful thing. And for me, songs like Jealous of the Angels, where I experienced losing someone very, very close to me. And when I lost my dad, I felt as if no one could possibly understand what I was going through. I felt so alone. I felt completely misunderstood. And somehow once I wrote that song and started sharing it and started hearing other stories, I realized we all feel like that with grief. We all feel isolated and alone, like nobody could understand what we're going through. And I feel like I learned through that song that music has the power to help others feel seen and feel better, feel find comfort, find peace, whatever that might be. And so through all of my songs, I just try to spread a positive light. We all experience unfortunate situations, whether it be grief or something else. But I think that in my songwriting, I really hope to bring hope and joy into the world and really just encourage people to overcome whatever obstacles might be in their life.
On to my very next question. So, what is your all-time favorite cover song to perform and why?
That's funny. So I grew up singing in an Americana roots band called Travel Ground, based in Minnesota. I grew up in Laconia, Minnesota. So it's a regional Americana roots band. Awesome guys. The leader of the band was my Minnesota history teacher in seventh grade. Well, the bassist was my middle school principal. I mean, lots of local ties. So it was a very special growing up band. And the first song that they ever asked me to learn, the first cover song, so I could go sing in the bars with them, is a Chris Smithers song called Love Me Like a Man that Bonnie Raitt made famous. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just learned the song. And I had been singing it year after year. And then now as an adult, kind of like, that was wildly inappropriate for a 16-year-old girl to be singing those lyrics.
Yeah.
But it has become such a part of me and such a part of my show. And I love to sing the blues. And I feel like I learned so much vocally through that song that it's still pretty much performed at almost every show that I have. So it's just one of those songs that has stuck with me over time. I performed it at the Ryman Auditorium for my Opry debut. So it's just one of those songs that'll always be with me.
Awesome. I love that. So, on to my very next question. So, if you could work with any top three music artists in the music industry, like who would you want to work with and why?
That's such a great question. So I love collaboration. I do a lot of it here in Nashville. And lately, I guess over the last few years, I have fallen in love with Lady Gaga's voice. So I would say I would love to do some sort of collaboration with her. That would be a dream bucket list. Absolutely. I write a lot already with a woman named Lauren Christie, but that was a dream songwrite for me as well. She wrote Complicated and Skater Boys for Avril Lavigne, as well as a bunch of Bibi Rexha, Dua Lipa, Jason Mraz, so many artists, so many top 40 songs. And I was feeling incredibly grateful that we did an entire album together called You Find a Way. So that I feel like was already one of those things that I fortunately have had a chance to get to work with Lauren. So I would say those two. And then my favorite male artist of all time is Mark Broussard. So to do a duet with him, his vocal is just insane. So that would be a fun one too.
So, on to my very next question. So, like, if you could go anywhere on tour, take your music to any place, any country in the world, like, where would you want to take your music to and why?
That's such a good question too. So I have had a chance to tour a lot of Europe. So are we talking somewhere brand new that I've never toured before?
Brand new, never been in
Okay.
before, wherever you prefer.
I gotta say Australia because I really want to go there and I have never had a chance. I'm not too particular on where there. I just want to travel there and yeah, I feel grateful that I've gotten a chance to perform in Europe, the Middle East, Mexico, but yeah, Australia's on the bucket list for sure.
Yes, I'm actually from Brisbane, Australia, so highly recommend Australia for you. It's an amazing place. I do recommend if you're more in like if you're more kind of like country vibe of an artist, like Tamworth Music Festival is a great event, like where a lot of country artists go to. And I went there first up this year. First time ever. Such a great experience at Tamworth Music Festival. Highly recommend it. But yeah, Tamworth Music Festival and going into Tamworth in Australia is so worth it, and you get like the best experience out of Tamworth, and especially as an artist in Tamworth, like you get the best experience of all time in Tamworth.
I love it. I actually have heard of that festival. I had a bunch of friends go a few years back and someday, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yes. Awesome. So on to my very next question. So what advice would you give to upcoming artists that want to get into music? And yeah, what advice would you give them?
So, as an artist songwriter, somebody who wants to pursue writing their own music, I think the best advice I can give, and I wish I had received it earlier. I think it was probably given to me, and I maybe didn't receive it. Is to write what you know and be as authentic as possible. And I think that the more personal you can write a song, the more general it becomes somehow. And I've seen that time and time again with my songs that are the ones that just I'm at the piano in tears writing because it's so honest and real. And then I share those, and somehow there's just this deep disconnect or deep connect. Sorry. And I feel like I wish that I had done that right out the gate and just focused on what's truly inside of me. Because we all would say something very different. We could all, you have 10 people write a song with the same title, and they're all going to be different songs because they're coming from a totally different experience. And I think just being true to who you are and what you know is such an important element to all that.
On to my very next question. So what advice would you give to younger Jen looking back over your time in the music industry? And yeah, what advice would you give to younger Jen?
I would tell younger Jen to chill and have some fun. I am a type A control freak, and I have been since high school. And I think I there was a level of intensity that I could have taken off a little bit. I think I was, while that determined spirit, I think probably got me where I am today and did, help me reach this level of success. I feel like I could have loosened up a little bit and had a little more fun along the way. And I was so zoned in with each album. It's like, okay, now I'm a country artist and all I can do is country music. And then now I'm a pop artist and all I can do is pop. And I think now that I have been in it for a while, I love all of those things. And depending on what the day is, what the collaboration is, step into it, be present, give 100%. And, if that's a country day, great. If it's a pop day, great. If it's a jazz day, blues day, whatever it is, step into it and own it and love it. And don't worry so much about how it all connects because it all does in the end.
So on to my very next question. So like what are the positive and negative side into the music industry? And how do you get through those like negative moments as an artist?
Man, I think as a creative of any kind, I think the constant self-critic is something you have to figure out how to battle and how to overcome. And for me, it's I could be sitting down writing a song, and if I don't have a great idea, I'm convincing myself that my ideas are trash, or I'll be halfway through a song and then I somehow think I'm messing it up. But it's just getting the idea out and being confident in it and knowing that I'm gonna write a song today, and it might not be the best song I've ever written, but I'm gonna write a song. And that practice of continually writing and being getting your endurance up to build that muscle constantly is so important. And so I think that that's probably one of the hardest things to overcome is that little voice saying, "Oh, that's not very good," like, "Oh, you're not good." All of a sudden it becomes this downward spiral. But the best thing I think about working in the music industry for me is that this is what I want to do with my life. This is what I've always wanted to do. This is the top thing for me. And I feel so grateful when I stop and reflect and journal or whatever it is that I get to wake up and do what I love every single day. And to take that for granted would just be a mistake. So I really try to just sit in that and kind of take a few moments in the morning and just thank God for where I'm at.
So on to my very last question for you, Jen. So like what's next for you for the rest of 2023 onwards, like goal wise? Like do you have anything that you like to announce on the show?
Well, I have an album that came out in July of 2022, and that album had been done for a while, but because of the events of 2020 and 2021, it was held. But that project is so special to me. It's the one I was referring to earlier that I wrote and recorded with my dear friend Lauren Christie, and it is a contemporary Christian album. I've been touring a lot of different venues, from theaters to churches and house concerts and all different things. And I'll be continuing to do that for some of this year, but also starting to write for my next album. And I've got a few songs in the can already, so I'm excited about that. But I'm just constantly creating. And, wide open. My heart is wide open to different opportunities. So there are some things in the works, but nothing I'm able to officially announce on the show. But I'm so thankful that I had a chance to share about my music and to get the chance to know you as well.
Well, thank you so much, Jenn, for appearing on my show. It has been such an incredible pleasure having you on. Everyone, definitely go share the love to Jenn, the incredible Jenn Bostic. Such a pleasure again. Do you have like any last final thoughts that you'd like to share to people on the show?
I'm just super grateful that I got a chance to chat with you, and I think that if I would hope one thing after somebody might hear this interview who is maybe just starting out on their musical journey or feeling stuck in their musical journey, is just keep doing what you do, because nobody does it the way you do. And if it's meant to be, it will. And it's such a gift to be able to play music at whatever capacity, whether it's for a living or for a hobby or whatever. So just keep doing it and don't ever stop.
Judy Garland said it well, never be a second-rate version of somebody else. You got your own two wings and you can choose to fly or fall. Got a 3-room apartment in a rundown part of town. There's a dream I'm chasing, don't tell me to slow down. Everybody's so quick with advice about who I'm supposed to be, but when it comes to me, I won't march in step. I'm gonna play right out of time, and when they say jump, I won't ask how. Love me, hate me, leave or take me, just don't make me change. Who says that sneakers can't go with a dress? Who says that singing in tune is a thing of the past? Sometimes I've got a reckless side, looking for a rule to break, 'cause you can't get over the rainbow without making a few mistakes. I won't march in step. I'm gonna play right out of time, and when they say jump, I won't ask how. Love me, hate me, leave or take me, just don't make me change. Don't you make me change. I won't march and step. I'm gonna play right out of time, and when they say jump, I won't ask how.